Hello everyone. Has the crown slipped already with the king? Seems to be a controversial question and there are many different opinions. I know our current King Charles has tried very hard to show the true qualities of a king. However, no one is perfect, it is just whether that shortcoming is worth ignoring or not. You are aware that there are those occasions when you genuinely miss our late and magnificent monarch, Queen Elizabeth II, and this is especially true during times of struggle. She appeared to have a natural ability to know what to do, when to remain silent, and when to take the initiative and lead from the front. When you think about it, it has been intriguing, hasn't it? Because, when you think about it today, it is evident that the Elizabethan age was a magnificent age. She was one of those people who, in my perspective, was just wonderful at that position. Of course, the reason for this is that many of us just knew that one era, and Elizabeth was one of those people. You should know that she was aware of the job, avoided becoming involved in any of the party politics, and never insulted anyone. At garden parties, when you would hear her talk, she may say something like, "How very rude," or other similar things, but that was really it. That was the degree of engagement that we had with her. Of course, we did get glimpses of certain parts, didn't we? Now, given this most recent, shall we say, bombshell, there are those who could think that His Majesty the King Charles, really ought to follow suit. It is a difficult fine line to walk, isn't it? I mean, do you agree with me? This is the thing. King Charles, a brand new age, that has never really been recognized for being the kind of quiet person that we would say is quiet. Whether it be on architecture, the climate, or other topics of a similar nature, he has never failed to express his viewpoint. Though they do not always resonate with people because real people, as I refer to them, have other concerns, such as paying the water rates, the mortgage, and the gas bill. You and I both have other problems. Though, when someone tries to inform you about the climate, you think to yourself, hold on a second, I'm more concerned about the price of bread going up, and I'm going to eat. This is the situation that His Majesty, the King, is currently facing, of course, because I believe, and this is just me putting myself out there, but I just think that he has been given very poor advice regarding this specific dilemma, because, as many of you are aware, we have been experiencing what are known as the riots in the United Kingdom, up here in the United Kingdom. This is all about people striking back and truly wanting to take control of the country back. This is the reason why this is happening. You know, all of this was promised to us a few years ago, and it was all because of Brexit. We were supposed to be in charge of our own destiny. You know, the borders, unrestricted immigration, small boats arriving, and everyone paying for it, are all examples of how things have gotten worse than they have ever been before. In the meantime, those individuals who have been present for a considerable amount of time, paid their taxes, and paid their dues, are all having a really difficult time of it. Now, as we all know, Sir Keir Starmer, the present Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, is also going through a really difficult time. However, where things become even more complicated is the fact that someone suggested that perhaps a troubling word, or a less worrying word, should I say, from His Majesty, the King, could be the answer. Seeing as how a lot of people are unaware of the fact that Sir Keir will be traveling to Balmoral this weekend in order to spend some time with His Majesty the King. This is because that is typically the time when they do, it is time for the sovereign to sort of, sit with the Prime Minister, who is currently in office, and they discuss various matters. I want to do a little comparison. Sorry if you are not satisfied with the question, but I still want to ask. I am not saying hate, I just want to know, between King Charles and Sir Keir Starmer, who do you like better? Comment number 1, if you like King Charles better, and number 2, if you like Sir Keir Starmer better. I would also like to add that Charles needs to remember he is a defender of the faith. The trouble is, the King needs to be reminded which faith he defends. British culture is based on Christian faith, and it's not about whether you go to church or not. Back to the main issue we are discussing. Let me tell you that Margaret Thatcher did not like Balmoral, and that she found it to be extremely boring. Considering that Cherie Blair was not a lover of Balmoral either, it is going to be interesting to see how Sir Keir Starmer, who is not a fan of monarchy in any way, shape, or form, feels about Balmoral. Now, according to that source, Charles disseminated that particular message in accordance with that directive, and he did so through number 10. This has turned out to be a spectacular failure, and it has been even more disastrous for Charles. In the same vein, what do you know about real life? Because people are asking you that question, there are a lot of things that you shouldn't really be involved with, such as the fact that we are unable to get a hospital appointment, that you want to live where I live, that I am having a hard time, and so on. And this brings me back to what I was saying at the beginning of the video. His mother, God bless her, would never have gone down that path. She would have stayed a safe distance away from it. After the awful killings of those young children, he wanted to travel and visit people in Southport, but he was urged not to do so due to security concerns and the additional strain that would be placed on the police in that area. This is another interesting aspect of the situation, a bit more favorable than, of course, the Prime Minister, who hurriedly entered and exited the room without uttering a single word of kindness to anyone, but who, of course, could find the time to sit with these individuals at a mosque, because the general public has had enough. You can see how this works. For the simple reason that if you do this, it will backfire on you, and more crucially, your subjects. The people who truly adore the British monarchy could turn against you as well. I would advise His Majesty the King to exercise extreme caution in order to avoid getting dragged into these dangerous political minefields. And at this point, it wouldn't be very nice, would it please? On the other hand, I find it amazing that people vote, or worse, don't blame the Labour for all the white and Christian hate and the problems that are astounding to see. King Charles should watch himself and stay very anti-political at this point in dangerous times. Honestly, it was a small group of tags acting like racist idiots. Nobody should be neutral when it is a question of their violence. No normal people accept that they throw bricks at well-educated, excellent nurses from the Far East when they are going to work at the hospital. People who do that should complain that they don't get appointments. The National Health Service needs those people. Most Britons don't support those far-right people. Many, however, would support demonstration without idiotic violence. And when the message is clear, impartiality was the late Queen's secret. This is the reason she was admired by all, always unbiased, everyone's queen. King Charles III should be politically neutral, like his incredible late mother. He is the monarch representing the whole country, not just the woke minority of champagne socialists who are not affected by these troubles. The impeccable reign of Her Majesty the late Queen would have been an impossible standard for anyone to duplicate. But anyway, we should have a belief and a positive assessment. His Majesty the King is a highly intelligent, benevolent, and extremely hard-working monarch. Making the odd faux pas does not diminish his vast capabilities. Politicians should be held to such ideal and unyielding expectations of perfection. Most importantly, our job is to fulfill our responsibilities as British citizens. I agree that sensationalist videos like this are shameful. They are so unfair to King Charles, planting suspicion of his conduct with no regard for his position. As for the United States, I'm baffled by the casual way some of them pontificate upon our king and other British matters without any notion of what the monarchy means or how it operates. I would like to emphasize that I am not criticizing Americans. I just want to say to some people that if you want to criticize our king, you should first know about our monarchy, our traditions, and our culture. We still respect your culture. Show yourself to be civilized and knowledgeable. Do you understand what I mean? What I heard is that the king is congratulating the British public for their compassion and anti-racism. These are not political issues. As head of the Church of England, the king is responsible for keeping Christian values alive, not for immigration The economy, or anything political, legal rights, etc., are the responsibility of the government. One more time, our late Queen was a grandmother to us all, especially for the last 20 years of her life. I'm not sure what the right thing to say is, in these troubled times, that will be comforting to everyone. Staying quiet is not the answer either for the king. I do hope Britain and the British people can find a calm in all of this soon, where talk replaces mobs, destruction, and violence, which leads to concrete solutions to each issue step by step. Instead of doing things that are harmful to the country, can we change direction? Can anybody tell an almost 40-year-old to behave? Harry has his own objective. To try and destroy his family because Meghan told him, because she was not as popular as Catherine, her nemesis. She still believed that Catherine was more popular than her. Even if we don't see her out and about, guess what? She will never be that popular. A-lister nobody. How exactly would Charles control his 40-year-old son, living in another country? How sharper than a serpent's tooth it is to have a thankless child. To be honest, do you realize that the king is controlling Harry as far as he can, by keeping him at arm's length and away from the royal family? What Harry does in his private life, and in the US, is outside of his father's jurisdiction. Besides, I think watching people like Harry and Markle lecture and tell you about your carbon footprints via flying in their private planes has made climate change sound ludicrous. That said, King Charles needs to back away now and stop climate control and all things political. However, I think King Charles should stay abreast of his people and offer comfort and assistance whenever possible. The same is true for Prince William. Anyway, only unity and consensus can make the country develop more and more. Let's look at it more humanely. His whole adult life has been devoted to public service. He created one of the most successful charities in the world, the Prince's Trust, set up with his Navy severance pay. He supports farmers and craftspeople faithfully. He's constantly criticized and mocked with empty accusations, yet he keeps his unstinting focus on royal service. He's out meeting and greeting people from all walks of life all the time, and is known as a generous and warm individual. He attends the Church of England every Sunday. How he puts up with the rude, nasty element in British society is beyond me. He could be sitting on a yacht with friends and family all day every day, but he has a sense of duty. Thank you everyone for watching my video. I look forward to receiving your feedback on my views and expressing your own. It would be even better if you supported me by liking, sharing, and subscribing to my channel. Now, goodbye, and see you again.